Hey everybody, welcome to Tips from the Trenches, our new series featuring seasoned professionals sharing their experience on the skills you need to continue growing your own career. I'm Daniel Wiggins, and in this episode, we will be discussing 5 steps to starting your own freelance career. While each one of these steps could truly be an episode on its own, today we'll be treating them as part of an overall strategy and touch on them only at a high level. So a little bit about me. I'm Daniel Wiggins, and I founded DCW Design in 2020, just 2 months before the pandemic. Great timing, right? We are a creative studio that specializes in branding for real estate, hospitality, luxury, and retail brands. Before I took the leap to start my own freelance business, I spent the last 13 years working for brands and agencies, learning the ropes. It took time and experience to take the leap, and I'm still learning every day. So these are 5 tips that I learned along the way that really helped me and things that I think could really help you if you're thinking about taking the leap. Okay, first up, you have to get legit. So what does that mean? We're going to be talking about LLCs, EINs, and accounting in this section. It sounds scary, but I promise it's not. So first up, an LLC is a limited liability company. So in most cases, an LLC will protect your personal assets from claims against the business, including lawsuits. So LLC is basically just a corporate entity you're creating for your business, and it shields you personally from anything that could go wrong with your business. Heaven forbid there's a lawsuit or something like that. And the great thing about LLCs is you can start one either on your own as a sole proprietor. If you have a partnership or you have a group that owns the business, there's different types of LLCs that work for whatever type of business you're wanting to create. There's also an EIN number, and that's an employer identification number. It's a unique 9-digit number that identifies your business for tax purposes. Think of this as a social security number for your business. And you want to start creating this number and using it to create bank accounts, to do business credit cards, anything you can do to separate your personal financial assets from your business. So where do you go about creating an LLC? Well, in the state of Georgia, that's through the Secretary of State's office. You can do it online. You renew every year. You can even renew 2 years at a time, so you don't have to think about it. But it's pretty easy if you follow the link below to create the type of LLC that's right for your business. And then an EIN number. This is through the federal government, through the IRS. So you'll need to go to the official IRS website. I noticed when doing research for this talk, there's a lot of services that'll offer to create this for you. You don't need to do that. They'll charge you more money. Just go directly to the IRS and make sure you see this symbol here, an official website of the United States government. You don't want to pay any more money than you have to for things like this. And then when it comes to expenses and accounting, there's tons of options, all depending on your threshold. With finances, there's FreshBooks, which I use personally. There's also QuickBooks, Wave, Xero. You can even use Excel if you're good at tracking that stuff yourself and counting it. But it's a really good idea to get some sort of software in place that tracks money coming in, money coming out, and then being able to invoice your clients and contractors. Now we're on step number 2. It's all about creating your brand. So in this section, we're going to be talking about logos and websites. So I get asked all the time as a graphic designer, how much does a logo cost? Well, the simple answer, it's a range. It can go anywhere between $500 up to $10,000 or more. We've worked on logos for small boutique brands, for nonprofits, up to huge corporate companies. And some of these companies spend millions of dollars on branding. So if you're just starting out, there's no need to invest tons of money and hire a graphic designer to do a custom logo for you. I would suggest using something like Canva's Logo Maker, or Wix has a program that does a similar option. When you're starting out, keep costs low. Don't invest a ton of money in branding to begin with. Get your business up and running, get your product out there, get your service out there, have a logo that works, and then maybe in a few years down the road, once you're a little more comfortable, I think that's the time to invest and hire a graphic designer or an agency like myself. And then the other thing you'll need is a website. You need some sort of online presence, talking about your business, talking about what you do, showing your work. And there's a lot of really great options now that don't require hiring a web developer. Some of these sites are Wix, Squarespace, which is what I use for my agency website. There's also Webflow, which is a little more custom, allows you to incorporate a little more HTML, CSS. Also, Google My Business, you can create pretty simple landing pages for your business that don't require much design and effort at all. Now we're on tip number 3, getting to work. This section is all about proposals, project terms, and contracts. This is actually what I would think is one of the most important sections of this talk, and you'll see why in a minute. So in addition to having a portfolio website like we talked before, it's also a good idea to have a PDF presentation of your work to email prospective clients, recruiters, hiring managers, etc. This is an example of some of the spreads from my PDF portfolio. I'm basically telling the story of my brand, my agency, the team that works with me, and then showing some of the work. This is very specific to graphic design, but I think any business you have, you really want to tell your brand story, show who your team is, show about you, and then show the service or product that you're offering. And this is an example of a proposal. This is really important because you want to, when you're a freelancer and you're getting hired for a service or work, you want to be really specific about what service you're providing. Describe that service, talk about things like revision rounds, be specific, what are lengths of periods of time, what is covered in the cost, what is not, and then add a budget. This is how I present a proposal for a branding project. These prices are just made up, so don't take them literally, but I'll basically describe each deliverable, name it, give a description so that we're on the same page with terms, and then do an estimated budget here of what it's going to cost. And I always say estimated because sometimes things take longer than expected. There are more revision rounds. Someone changes their mind. You don't want to get locked in to a certain price and then someone changes their mind and then you have to throw work away. And that's where we come to contracts and terms, which is really, really important. So in my business, when I'm doing a branding project for someone, I state that all resources such as fonts, stock photos, icons are not included in the price above. The client needs to pay for those in addition to the work. I also stipulate how many revision rounds per deliverable. That way I'm not endlessly revising things for clients. They'll be charged an extra hour worth of work at an hourly rate. And we talk about things like usage rights and project cancellation. The really great thing about this is it may seem awkward to say all these terms before you've started a project, but this really makes sure that you guys are on the same page from the very beginning, and it creates better working relationship for both sides involved. Okay, now we're on tip number 4. This is all about sharing your work. We're going to be talking about social media and defining your service. So my agency, we are on every social media platform. We have Instagram, we have Pinterest. You'll see our logo is on each website. We have a blurb about ourselves. We're also on LinkedIn. You can create a custom LinkedIn page for your business, which I would highly recommend. And then on all of these things, you'll notice there's a different mission statement that's in kind of the tagline or the header of our website or social media profile. So this is an example of the front page of our website. You'll see DCW Design is the studio practice of Daniel Wiggins. That's me, an award-winning creative director and graphic designer. So why this is important? Because this statement, I want people, if they come across my site randomly or if they're actually looking for me, I want them to see exactly what product or service I'm offering straight off the bat. I don't want to have to explain it. So create a 1 or 2 sentence almost mission statement that you can use on your bios, on your website, on social media, everywhere, because you really want people to know exactly what you're doing out the gate and what you're offering. All right, now we've reached the final step of our talk, growing your business. Tip number 5, this is all about networking and using the tools you have. So the great thing at this step, you've created your EIN number, you've gotten legit, you have accounting software, you have a website and a mission statement. So now it's time to do the work and grow your business. Networking is a super valuable tool. It's something that we use a lot at my agency to get new clients, to hire new talent. There's a lot of really great industry groups depending on what your industry is. These are just some examples. We have Retail Design Institute, of course. There's also AIGA. This is the professional organization for the graphic arts, graphic design. There's also Urban Land Institute. I said our agency does a lot of work in the real estate space. So that's a good example of a professional group where you can meet other people, network, grow your business, and get your name out there. Another option is join local groups around you. So we're based in Midtown Atlanta. So there's the Midtown Alliance, there's Atlanta Downtown has their own alliance, South Downtown, Atlanta Preservation Center. There's a lot of different local groups probably in the city that you're in or the region where you can network with other business owners, do events, do tours, things like that. It's just a great way to meet more people in your community, and you never know what it could lead to. Another option could be co-working spaces. If you're working for yourself, you might start out at home, but maybe you get to a point where you'd like to work in a co-working office environment. There's a lot of options for these now. Of course, there's WeWork. Spaces is another option. If you're in Atlanta, I'd recommend Switchyards. They're a local grown Atlanta startup. That's a co-working space. They have a couple locations. It's a really great homegrown brand, and it's really great for networking and to meet other like-minded individuals that are all kind of out there hustling like you are. Another way to meet more people, expand business, and network is social media. We're on every platform that there is. Social media is a great way to meet other designers, other professionals in your field, people you admire. It's a great idea to reach out to them and say, hey, I really like your work. I'd love to speak with you. I think a lot of people are willing to have those conversations and love helping other business owners that are starting out because they were once in that field. Don't ever be afraid, I think, to reach out to someone on social media, slide in their DMs. Just make sure that you're asking for something, maybe asking for help or just wanting to speak instead of trying to necessarily get hired or ask for something that might come off as a little too pushy. So in review, these are the 5 tips to starting your own freelance career, business, or brand. Step 1, we talked about, get legit, all about taxes and accounting, set up your business in the best legal way possible so you don't have to do that on the back end. Then you want to create a logo for your brand. Use those logo creators that I suggested. Create a nice website that presents your service, presents your product, presents your brand in a clean and concise way. Then you need to get to work. So it's all about proposals, terms, project terms, things like that, contracts. Then sharing your work, make sure you have a social media presence, making sure you're engaged with other designers, other people in the field. And finally, number 5, growing your business. It's all about networking. It's something that you'll always have to do. And it's actually really fun to do once you get going, meet other like-minded people and businesses in the field, grow your business, hire people. These, again, like we said, we could spend a whole time talking about each one of these individually, but this is a high-level view. These are 5 tips that I use to start my own agency, and hopefully they'll work for you too.